Hello. Welcome into the Ron Ross Radio Show podcast for Tuesday. I know at our regular time. It's 11 a.m. Eastern. I know. What? 8 a.m. Pacific. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'm Ron Ross. That dude over there is John Yaglensky, our executive producer and also my partner in crime for the podcast. And we're just hanging out on a Tuesday morning. The weather is finally broken where I am. It was miserable on Saturday. I went and I was a judge for the Battle of the Bands, which was an austere position. I hope that was a correct usage of the word. Yeah, I know. I'm trying. It's college work.
Right.
And, SAT work. And I now I got to look it up.
Yeah.
But I was a judge with 3 other people, and we were watching these bands, and I took it very, very seriously. And was writing down the songs. Some of them were all original bands, which gets a lot of points for me for originality. I was listening to the songs. There was a band that had a bunch of great harmonies and some great hooks in the songs. But it was the coldest day of the entire spring because I didn't think it got out of the 50s. And it rained all the way up. It started at 3 p.m, and it was outdoors, of course. At the amphitheater on Carroll Creek in downtown Frederick. John, you know where that is.
I do.
Yes. We partied there once. Who did we see?
We did.
Rusted Root? Were you there for the Rusted Root show?
On my way.
Yeah. Or was it somebody else?
No, we were down there for that.
You were there for the Rusted Root. Okay.
Yeah.
It was just you and your son. What was the other time that you were there?
Was it? No.
Yeah. No, it was. Yeah. No.
I thought Staker was there for that one.
So
I have a picture somewhere.
We went there accidentally. We were just Greatest Wife Ever and I we were just carousing around downtown and just hanging out. We had gone to Cacique and had numerous margaritas, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to drive. So we're like, well, where do you want to go now? Well, I think there's a show down on the Carroll Creek. So that's where we went.
On my way.
Big crowd. It was great. It was a great show. Anyway, it was so cold, but I was there with 3 other judges. One's runs a recording studio, and his part of the grand prize was time in his recording studio in Frederick.
Oh, that's pretty good prize.
I know, it was a very good prize, and it was a huge grand prize, and it was all a fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club of Frederick and Frederick County, which was a great cause, and they raised a lot of money in one event. But anyway, it was cold is the whole point I was getting to. It was cold and wet and rainy, and I had a hoodie on, and then I had a jacket over the hoodie, and I had but still we made it through. And it rained all morning, just pouring until when it started at 3 p.m, then it let up. And then by the time it was about to end at 8 o'clock, it started to mist again. It was like you're in the middle of a cloud. And it was that was just the word. And then the next day, Sunday, up in the 80s. So I was like,
that's kind of how weather is in the Mid-Atlantic about that time of year. Usually, it's very unpredictable. Nice using the cough button. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I still have the cough. I still have this cough, and I haven't shaken it yet.
A lingering cough.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go see the doctor about it or not. I might. I don't know. I don't have any other symptoms. I'm not. They're not no headache or fever or anything else like that. It's just cough, and I've got little chest congestion, but that's it. Enough of that. That's not on the agenda, John. We're not talking about that. So
never mind.
The thing I missed this week or last week rather was it was Wednesday was Administrative Assistance Day, and I remember back when it was called Secretary's Day. Right. You had to do a radio promotion for Secretary's Day. And one time at Z104 in Frederick, we were doing the computer drop. So you got computer monitors, and we went up in this hydraulic lift.
Okay.
And that's where I found out I was scared of heights.
Oh,
yeah. Not cool, man. Went up in the hydraulic lift with the contestants. And there was a bullseye in the parking lot at the FSK Mall. And then they had to toss the monitor and see how close they could get it. And then they won, I don't know, some vacation.
So wait a minute. They tossed CRT monitors,
Yeah,
like
the big, yeah,
real.
the tube monitors, yeah. But it wasn't
Like
that fun
mercury in those or
because for
something?
safety purposes, you had to duct tape across the screen. And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
yeah, exactly. So shards of glass weren't flying. So we had a crowd of people around us, and
well, that's
yeah, I'm broadcasted live.
we're it's the great monitor drop.
Well, no, it was the computer drop.
I swear,
We weren't
swear on my life, I thought
accurate. We weren't
computers
dropping
would
hard
fly.
drives, and yeah, no, exactly. And keyboards. It was the
Right.
monitor, but nobody knows it's a monitor, so it was called a computer drop. So
Right.
we were throwing it over the side.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I remember we had to do that once, and then we tried to do the same thing when I was at Extra 104. I brought the promotion to that radio station in
Uh-huh.
Washington, and we did that at Planet Hollywood inside. So it was
With
over
the
the balcony.
computer monitor inside?
Yeah, down onto a target again. And this one, everything was wrapped so tight with duct tape, you might as well have just dropped a duct tape ball. It was like, what was the, and I think out of the entire place in Planet Hollywood, let's say there were 300 people there.
I've been there, by the way.
I think like 15 people were there for the radio promotion, and everybody else was just trying to have a nice lunch on Secretary's Day.
and they're seeing computer monitors dropped off the balcony of the Planet.
Oh, and and this rude DJ on the PA, which is fine if you're close to the speakers, and you can hear everything that's going on, and you get the station pumping out. But if you're up, 10 tables away or whatever, you just hear this commotion. It's just annoying. It's just annoying. But the day after that, I believe Thursday, was Bring Your Kids to Work Day, which started as Bring Your Daughter to Work Day. Right. As I recall, I think the very first one was for women, working professional women, to bring their daughters to work to see what else they could do, to see, what does mom do when she goes to work every day, and see, and the glass ceiling for women in the office and or at work or whatever it was. And then it morphed into take your children to work, your kids to work, and then it was men and women and moms and dads and so on. But I remember I took the older one and brought her into work one day. Well, she went into work with me all the time, so she didn't care. I'm just going to go. I'm going to stay home from school or whatever.
Yeah, that was the real reason.
As I recall, she skipped.
Hey, good excuse.
She skipped, yeah.
Yeah.
And then daughter the younger did come with me, but neither one of them went into, if anyone I thought was going to go into radio, it would have been daughter the elder. But she had just
smart
zero interest. Smart. Yeah, exactly. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, she filled in one time when I was working at Hot 99.5 in Washington, D.C. She filled in for the co-host, Chris Gamble, who was out on a medical leave or something.
Really?
And she filled in, and she was fantastic, and she was a natural. Let's see. Jennifer just posted, and as you can, by the way, if you're watching us on Facebook or you're watching us on YouTube, you can post anything you'd like, and we'll grab it. Jennifer said, I remember getting to go with my dad to the Lawrence Livermore lab. It was a big. Well, now you got to tell me what your dad did.
Yeah,
He's worked at a lab. Was he a research scientist?
That's top secret, Ron.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
And it's not even the Livermore lab. It was someplace else, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah. She could tell you, but she'd have to kill you.
Exactly. I just thought it was funny that neither daughter, although they would take advantage of the take your daughter to work day or take your kid to work day, couldn't have cared less. Graphic designer. Ooh, he was graphic. Ooh. Careful.
Sure, he was a graphic designer.
He was great. No, you're right. Exactly. Sure. So then, in years later, when I was working at Sirius XM, they had a whole program put together. They had somebody in the promotions department who put a whole program together for all the kids. And then, all the kids would be gathered together in one room. They provided lunch for them and all that stuff. And then they would walk them around and give them a tour. And it was just by accident. They're all standing outside the studio where I worked. And I invited them in. So they all walked in and I put them all on the air and come up to the microphone and say, hi, blah, blah, blah. Let's take your kid to work day during my show. And from then on, they contacted me every year. Hey, are you going to put everybody back on the air?
Oh, it became a thing.
It became a thing. So then I had to tape it all. And then I had to edit it all and send them the MP3 files because everybody was like, can I get a copy of that? I'm like, absolutely.
And now today you would just upload it and share the link.
Exactly. I know. John and I were just discussing something you had to do in radio is when you had a client, an advertiser, and they wanted to hear you mention them on the air about something or whatever. Yeah. It was the whole big fat hairy deal to get a quote unquote air check. Yeah. But nowadays, I mean, we've got the radio station where I work is everything's on the computer. So they have an audio log that records everything 24/7. And then you have what's called a skimmer, which is only turns on when you turn the mic on. So it skims your voice tracks.
Which we used to do air checks and then look for a new job if we wanted to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there was that.
But you had to have a cassette in there. You had to load the cassette prior to your shift. And then
ours was a reel to reel.
Oh,
a reel to reel tape. And then you had to edit it secretly on there. I didn't have a reel to reel deck at home.
Yeah, nobody did.
Yeah. You had to sit there and literally cut and splice the tape with a razor blade.
Yeah, I'm just going to roll that off onto a cassette with the volume.
I don't know, man. I remember doing the air checks like that and sending out reels. I sent out reels.
Wow.
Little reels. Yeah, little reels.
No,
and then of course I dubbed them all into cassette and started sending out cassettes.
Yeah, but then you had miniature cassettes, not because you wouldn't buy the full ones because those were too expensive. But
no. They only had like 5-minute cassettes. Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of thing.
You could buy them in bulk.
Right.
For the let's read it. As John and I go down the unemployed radio aisle again. That's what you had to do to try to get a job.
Have over here some air check cassettes, literally still.
I have the reels. I have reels. I don't know how I'll ever listen to them.
I've got a couple reels too.
I don't even know why they're in my house. I mean, I can't listen to them.
I know.
There in a stack with remember the cart labels?
Yeah.
The cart label is you pull the end of the tape out and you put the cart label over the end of the tape to stick it there. And there it was, Ron Ross check. And then what year?
Yeah. I've got one reel, I think, left. And that is my John Taylor shout. John Taylor.
Yeah, I had some
from Jam Radio Productions, baby.
I had a jock shout, and
I paid for my own.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah,
they got one for me in DC. At Z104 in DC, I had. Well, you had the quote unquote top of the hour,
right?
Okay, we're getting into the weeds here.
Yeah,
with radio.
Holy moly!
With radio, with your, and I think I've said this before, with a radio station licensed by the FCC, you're licensed to a specific city, and you have an obligation for a lot of public broadcast for the public good to serve that city because the radio station is licensed by the federal government, but it's for the public good. And that's why you had a bunch of those church shows and public service shows
on Sunday mornings.
On Sunday mornings at 6 a.m. The God Squad. And but you have to ID yourself with your call letters and your city license at the top of the hour or as close as you can to the top of the hour. And I had a jock shout on Z104, which was Ron Ross, and then there was a bed Z104 WWZZ WVZ and right. So
sometimes
I always followed that with like, well, you were supposed to talk over. It's called a donut because it had a hole in the middle. There was an open and a close, and then there was a
music in the middle and
bed that you laid your vocals over, but it was called a donut because there was a hole in the middle. So I had a jock shout donut. on Z104.
That's
Ron
cool.
Ross. Oh, it started with the call the call letters WWZZ blah 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 blah. Ron Ross, and I'm like, oh my God, is he here? Somebody call security. Z104. Yeah, exactly. So
What were we talking about?
I don't know. We got into radio. We got into the weeds. That's what happens.
Wow.
Oh, bring your kids to work day. That's how it
Yeah.
goes. Yeah.
That
So
was it.
after
Okay.
all these wonderful stories, neither one of my kids ever wanted to go into radio. But you've seen Jordan here on this podcast. She's a natural, but she just never. I think maybe she just decided she's watched my struggle, so she didn't. She very wisely decided not to go into
My kids barely knew me in radio.
Oh,
So,
that's
I mean, I was out
right.
almost by the time that they were old enough to realize that.
It's just an old story that Dad tells.
Yeah, it is. Only have air checks and stuff to prove
Hey,
it.
it's the reason they exist.
It is. I took my one son. Michael went into work with me to my daytime job, and I remember that. I have pictures. We did that once, and then that was it. And then the younger, I don't know whether he never had an interest or we discontinued doing it at my small office back then. I don't know. Yeah.
I was really interested in my dad's job. My dad worked for the Food and Drug Administration for many years.
Yep.
He retired from there. He was a Fed, and I just heard the story about after he was in medical school. He left medical school. He joined the Air Force Reserve, and then he was recruited by the federal government and to work for the Food and Drug Administration. And he was in the Air Force Reserve. It was a whole big story. Then he wound up being discharged from the Army. It's a whole thing. But he was the FDA. He was a field inspector, and I heard about that a lot. He had a shield. He had literally had a badge from the United States. Yeah, it said Food and Drug Administration because you could walk in, flash the shield, and start inspecting the place.
Wow.
But that's what he did. A lot of inspections. He was on the road a lot. I remember driving him to the airport when I was a kid, and he was only on the East Coast. So he flew either Eastern Airlines or Piedmont. And I remember those two airlines, those were East Coast airlines, and they're both gone now.
Yeah, they're gone.
I remember that. And I think I told you, I told you the story when he was stationed, he was in Atlanta. Florida was part of his territory, and he was driving past all this swampland. And the guy who was driving him, who's from Florida, was like, "Hey, I hear Disney bought up all this land in here.
Oh, right.
All swamp. And then my dad's like, okay,
sure.
Good idea.
Right.
But that was in the like early 60s. That might have been before I was born. It was before I was born. That they were piecing that all together. Anyway, so he went into like all kinds of different departments. He was a field inspector. He won't eat hot dogs to this day. That crab meat packing plants, stuff like that. But then he was in the Freedom of Information Office. Okay, so he worked in that office. So if there were studies done by the FDA or studies done by independent or whatever, and some other company requested it, he had to find it and whatever. It was in the Freedom of Information Office, then the Office of Compliance, and then Bureau of Medical Devices, and compliance with that. And he was working with like used heart valves that were being and used pacemakers that were being imported from other people who had used them that weren't using them anymore. If you hear what I'm saying,
right?
And there's a federal regulation that had to be, there was all kinds of standards that they had to follow, and there was mispackaging on this other medical device, and they had to go, and the dad gave the order, and they to the local office wherever it was. I think it was Seattle, and they had to go and padlock you're not allowed, you can't sell this. They had to padlock the warehouse and all that stuff. So that's what Dad did. I was really, 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 really interested in all the stuff that he did.
Trying to picture your dad doing that.
And I told him
a long time.
I told him, I said, you know what, Dad, you should really, and he's not a fan of big pharma. You want to talk about somebody who's not a fan. I talked to him one time and I said, you know what you could do, Dad, is you could just take an early retirement.
Yeah.
Hang out your shingle as a consultant
Sure.
to all of these other places and get them ready for federal inspections.
Sure.
And he said, absolutely not. He would never, ever work or take any money from them. He wouldn't do it. Would not do it. I'm like, okay, you go, Dad. I get it.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
Wouldn't be prudent.
So anyway, yeah, wouldn't be prudent. So that's what my dad did. So I was always interested in that. I knew I was never going to go into that branch or into that service, but it was really interesting. I would ask him, "Hey, what's going on, Dad? Did you shut down any companies this week?"
Nice.
So
crazy.
I got to point this out.
Okay.
I have, when I was younger and dumber and way ruder, I would, and this is embarrassing to say, but I'm just going to say it. I would correct people's grammar.
Oh, you were one of those guys.
Yeah, I was. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. I apologize now. Obviously, I see the error of my ways. And I understand the difference between colloquialisms and speech, how you talk to people and how they talk to you, and then when you write something. And if you're writing something and you want it to be correct, okay, but sometimes it doesn't sound correct because now you have malapropisms and people with the incorrect usage that has now become commonplace.
Okay.
But I did notice something. I still have some pet peeves about that.
Oh no.
And I wanted to bring it up. And here's why I'll bring it up. Okay. Love the show, The Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Watched it when it was on. I'm watching all the repeats now, all of the syndicated versions of the show. And it's on almost like 24/7 now. But the thing I noticed is that as much as Sheldon Cooper, the character, was a stickler for everything to be correct, the math has to be correct, everything has to be just so, his grammar was incorrect.
Do you think that was on purpose?
I don't know. I think maybe the
writers
didn't know any better.
Oh, well, or was it
my point? Huh?
What is it a joke that they were making that he was so perfect?
Well, it was consistent though with every episode.
Huh. Okay.
And it would, if anybody was going to point that out, it would be he, not him.
Okay.
Correct case of a direct object or object in sentences is
this was
really gets me. Like what? Him and I. It's he and I.
I just
always put yourself last. That kind of thing.
I'm a good creative writer, but yeah.
And also the usage of the adverb. People don't use adverbs as they should. And I distinctly remember something it was on Channel 4 here in Washington, D.C. And they were giving tips on driving in the snow. Tips on driving in the snow. Number 1, take it slow. No. Take it slowly. Slowly. How are you taking it? You're taking it slowly. Modifies the verb. But it was just one of those things that I'm watching the show and it just really struck me. And I'm like, that's interesting that this character that has to get everything correct is not getting the English language correct. And I don't know if the writers did that on purpose. Like you said, that's very, could be. It's a very good
an inside joke. Could be
an inside joke, right? That all the math. I understand that every time there was an equation on a whiteboard or a chalkboard or whatever, it was correct. They had a mathematician who wrote it all out.
I think there, by the way, was a IEEE, the company that I work for during the day. I think there was a bumper sticker in the background on one of the, I don't know, on the fridge or something. Or
really,
yeah, in the show. Yeah,
get out. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. Well, because people of their ilk would be potentially members of IEEE. World's largest technical professional society.
There it is. Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, please support my daytime job by going to IEEE.org and join up. There you go. Wait, hold on.
John has explained it to me more than once.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, hand to God, I still don't know what he does.
I'm the director of communications. How hard is that?
Okay. I got it.
I direct the people to communicate.
Okay.
I have people skills.
You do, actually.
Tell me what exactly.
It's so funny to see some of my friends who were wise enough to get out of a radio and what they do. It was one of the women I worked with at Hot 99.5, Chris. She got out altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And is a Fed. She works for the federal government. Good for her.
Yeah.
Guess what? In the communications office. So,
yeah, of course.
Right. Yeah. She knows
it comes full circle.
It does. And usually it's they get a good government job. I never even thought to try to do that when I was in between
honestly
positions.
You didn't think of it, even though your dad had gone down that path? And no?
Well, one of the requirements would be a 4-year degree.
Oh.
I never graduated. I went to Maryland. Maryland went to me. But I never finished. I got my first full-time job in radio, and my goal was to go back at night and finish up, or I'll go during the day because I was working nights. And then just life happened, so I never finished. I was probably a semester or two away.
And look at you. You done okay.
But it prevented me from going for other jobs. Yeah, because when it said I had to decide whether I was going to lie,
right,
or and get the job. I mean, who's going to check? I mean, it was
that's kind of like your transcripts and stuff at this point.
86 is when I would have graduated, and I don't even know if they have records from that.
I never listed my GPA on anything just because I was great in my major, but otherwise,
I
didn't care.
Right. So I never lied on my resume, and I think that held me back from doing, because then the plan B also, if the radio thing didn't hold out, is instead of going into communications office, I wanted to be, surprise, an English teacher. And but I don't have that degree.
It's funny you mentioned about lying on your resume, because I remember having this conversation coming out of school. I'd only had a couple radio jobs at the time, and my program director was like, I can just give you a couple call letters of a few stations you can put on your resume. Nobody's going to check. I'm like, what? And I did not. Okay. I didn't do it.
Good for you.
I just was
good for you.
I was like, nah. I said, I will be the one they will check.
Right. Yeah, that's my luck. Just my luck.
Yeah.
But I mean, so we call the University of Maryland, and they don't have any record of you.
I know. So there you go. Yeah, don't lie, kids.
Yeah, don't lie on the resume.
Let your conscience.
Although I know several people who have gotten great positions. By the way, that's incorrect. Who achieve. That's another thing that I do incorrectly. It's funny because I was such a stickler for the English language, but I violate the rules all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you speak conversationally, which is
that's the thing that I learned is conversational English as opposed to correct written grammar. And literally means figuratively now because of the common usage of it. Literally does not mean literally anymore.
Right.
It means figuratively.
Right. Exactly.
Now, but what does figuratively mean? Still means just figuratively, I think. But nobody uses it.
Means figuratively.
Right. But literally, they use literally. So, oh no, hang on.
Oh, hang on. Here we go. There it goes.
Oh yeah, baby, that was a good one.
Using the cough button, you're not actually supposed to point out that somebody's using the cough at the time.
Well, it's on video as well. So if you're watching this live, here's to you. Right. I call this now the John Cup. Any idea why I call it the John Cup, John?
No. Why?
No.
No.
Because I'm drinking a beverage near a computer, so it's got to have a lid on it.
Oh yeah, thanks. Keep rubbing it in, man. You know what's funny? Look.
I don't really call it a John
You
Gump.
see this?
I just did that just to what? Oh, what's that?
This
Oh, is that the coffee?
my notebook. This was
The coffee? That's awesome.
the coffee that went everywhere.
The
Yeah.
pages look aged, John.
Yeah, if we just get like a
They have a
lighter
little-
and burn the
yeah,
edges, we'll be
They
good.
have a little
And it'll be like
sepia tone on them. I know. They're aged
Sparrow's
very nicely.
treasure map. Yeah, I mean, there it is. Like literally. Ah, figuratively.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
Anyway, yeah.
So
Thanks
what
for
was
that.
Tam and I were talking before we came on the air? We were talking about songs that we didn't know what the meanings were, or we found out that the meanings that kind of changed everything about the song. I think.
Yeah.
We were talking about how when I get to drive my wife's car, her vehicle has a subwoofer in it. So when I'm Bluetoothing something in from my phone, it's usually like Steely Dan or something where you can hear every little, it's just engineered and mixed, every little nuance, every little tap on the hi-hat and everything. You hear everything. It's mixed wonderfully. Perfect. And a great tone on the drums. And then we were talking about the Donald Fagen, who was in Steely Dan, and his solo album, which was called Nightfly. And the one song I'm listening to that I like off of that is New Frontier, but there was another single off of that, which was called IGY.
Yeah, the International Geophysical Year.
Right. And the lyrics were, "What a beautiful world this would be." Right. Okay.
Yeah, but you know, it's a song about optimism for the future, and there'll be spandex jackets, one for everyone, you know, all that kind of stuff, and how we were looking forward during the International Geophysical Year, which I guess you can look up what year that is. We'll have to consult somebody. Look that up.
The 80s, 82.
Was it? No, I think that was back there. He was looking backwards.
Oh, because he did the song about the
right about that, like in the 60s or something. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Or 50s, maybe, even how they dreamed the future would be, you know, flying cars and things. I can still remember seeing a Walt Disney cartoon in elementary school of that. And it was like our favorite cartoon because it showed cities where the cars, you know, were like.
I'm still angry about. I'm still bitter about that.
Still no flying cars.
This is 2024 and no flying car. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm still irritated. But the point being, I later heard as an adult, like a few years ago, or even maybe read it online, where he said that basically he was mocking the whole thing. Like mocking the optimism, mocking what we thought things were going to be. And I'm like, it was such a optimistic song, and I still loved singing it to this day. And now I'm soured every time I hear it. Like, I'm like, the dude was making fun of it. The future. Yep. By the way, Jim mentions 1957 through 1958. So there you go. That was IGY.
Oh, thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. Thank you for the accuracy.
And saying the Fagen.
Shane's talking about the Fagen. Shane Gamble, by the way, everybody look up Shane Gamble. Is an artist in his own right, singer-songwriter. He's got several albums that are out. You can get them on Spotify. There are all kinds of videos on YouTube, and he tours. And I think he just put together a new band, and I'm excited to see them when they play. But Shane Gamble, look him up. He's a great artist.
Work with him on about 4 or 5 videos,
and a good dude.
Yep.
And a great performer. You'll have a good time. You go to a Shane Gamble show.
Good time will be had.
Yes, absolutely. So and he's a huge Tom Petty fan. Huge Tom Petty.
This is true. He used to do a Tom Petty tribute show.
Yes, I know.
With full-on wig.
Did he? No, he did not.
Yes,
no, did he? Oh, well, that I got to see.
I've seen that.
I wanted to recruit him for like a 90s jangle kind of band. But he's super busy.
Too busy.
He's too busy.
Busiest man in show business.
Oh, I've got my dream list of everybody I want to be in this band. I would be cherry picking them off from other bands.
Okay.
But
all right.
You know, and then I keep vacillating. Am I going to play bass? Am I going to play drums? Maybe I just play acoustic guitar up front. I don't know.
Good. I'll be
but it'll be my band. Oh, well, then you're playing bass.
I know that will
done. Yes, what? Totally. No. Actually, when I give you the assignment, you'd have to step up. This is what happened to me. You're playing bass. I'm like, well, I don't know how to play bass, so I had to figure it out. Oh,
maybe in retirement we can have a band, Ron.
Okay, speaking of which, though, we were talking about songs.
Okay, yes.
And I think, I don't
Song
know,
meetings.
did we do one, the song from U2? What was the U2 song that you sang?
No, we did In the Name of Love.
In the Name of Love. Okay.
Yeah.
One is one of those misinterpreted songs as well, because they use them in weddings and stuff like that. And if you listen to the lyrics, it's not about that at all.
Really?
They're breaking up.
And
So we're one, but we're not the same. And yeah, it's a breakup song.
That would be
thing.
awkward.
Same thing when I was sorry, name drop, interviewing James Blunt.
Go.
Here's my James Blunt impersonation.
Here we go.
Ready? Here's my James Blunt impersonation.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is James Blunt. There you go. That's my James Blunt.
It's like every Englishman I've ever heard. That could be
right.
Hi, I'm James
right.
Blunt.
But the song "You're Beautiful, You're Beautiful,"
right,
is about a guy who's on drugs stalking a woman. Go back and look at the lyrics.
Awkward.
And they're playing them at weddings, and you're beautiful.
Although, you know, it's funny.
He was with another man.
But, you know, you say that too. And I saw a Duran Duran documentary over the weekend that went through there.
None the name drop. Name drop.
Yeah, I know you've.
Oh, you know how they say Duran Duran? Simon Le Bon goes Dran Dran.
Dran Dran?
And Dran Dran.
Nice.
Yeah, well, when I was in Dran Dran.
There's a point to me mentioning them that
yes,
apparently,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like there was a song, Ordinary World or something, was about which was one of their great comeback songs
in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Heavy rotation in 90s on 9. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Simon said it was about losing a friend of his. Like it was about a death. Like, and I'm like, didn't get that at all. And also,
no, I know.
He also said that a lot of his lyrics were open to interpretation. So I think there is a certain amount of that. I guess it's what you take from the song rather than maybe what the artist meant it to be.
One of the things I saw, one of the things I took away with me from film school, film class, and actually Greatest Wife Ever went to film class with me at University of Maryland. I love this, and that is the professor said, whatever you see in a film that you take away with you, whether it was intended or not, is perfectly valid because you have perceived it, and that's it. Well, it's the way you have interpreted through your filters the
paradigm,
the artwork.
Yes.
So you know, if everybody thinks that "Born in the USA" is a patriotic song,
it's listen to it.
Then it's a patriotic song.
I guess.
Really not.
Maybe not.
That was okay. That's one that I figured out while we were playing it, because I was I just started in radio, and that album was huge. We were playing, I think, every song off that album. I'm on Fire and Glory Days and Born in the USA and all that stuff was. But I just remember sitting there in the studio, song is playing. It was on a record, by the way, back then in the 80s. And I'm listening to the lyrics to Born in the USA, and I'm just going, I don't think this is what everybody thinks they think it is. But you know, whatever. It rang a bell because of the actual title of the song, I guess.
I'm going to tell you, grew up in outside of Philadelphia, New Jersey area, all that.
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen was the biggest thing. Like growing up in high school, people love the boss. I still to this day cannot stand Bruce Springsteen. Sorry, folks.
That's what I should have put that up there as a discussion, because I could go on for a while. There are two artists, and I get that they are revered. And I get that they are, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and millions and millions of people love their work.
I gotta know who. Come on.
Bob Dylan.
That's one for me too. Huge. Like him and the boss.
And Bruce Springsteen. Like, have you seen him in concert?
No way. Really?
No.
You're the same on both of those?
Why would I see him in concert if I don't get it? Have you seen him in concert? No, I haven't. Now, later in life, I have learned to appreciate Bruce Springsteen, especially since he's older than I am. And he's still out there kicking, and he looks great. And
There are a few
he's writing good. He's writing good songs. He's working his not just good songs, but great songs and cohesive albums, and he's still working and still doing it. So I have to appreciate that. It's just not one of those. I'm not one of those. Oh, Born to Run's the greatest song.
Although I do like Born to Run, though I think Frankie Goes to Hollywood does it better.
That's the one. Who?
Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Oh, I don't know that version. Oh, that's awesome. You? Oh, wow. Okay.
Awesome. Check it out, people.
You think? You think?
Yeah, I love their version of that. But that is weird, really. Like, we are simpatico on both of those. Dylan, don't like Dylan, but did like the Wallflowers and Jacob Dylan.
Yeah. But that's because he sounds like Bruce Springsteen. I saw him singing One Headlight, and Bruce Springsteen joined him on it. Whoa!
See, now you've ruined it. Oh, come on.
They did.
I like that. Good video.
It was on the Grand. I love that song. Actually, I think The Difference is probably the best song they ever did. The Wallflowers.
Yeah, but the One Headlight.
And I like their cover. No, their cover of David Bowie's Heroes.
They
did a great job with that.
Too. Yeah,
that was for the Godzilla soundtrack, but still, it was a great song. We could be heroes just for one day. Anyway,
okay.
now on the other side of this, and I have to represent because a good friend of mine, Ron, his name is Ron. I'm not talking about myself.
Okay. Not talking in the third person. Good.
Does not get, never has, doesn't appreciate the Beatles, which is to me, that is a knife. That is a knife.
That hurts
right here.
That hurts.
I've loved the Beatles ever since I was a little kid, but I have to appreciate the fact that there's some people that are just not going to. They're not going to be on board with that.
I never got the Rolling Stones either, quite frankly.
Well, see, I got the Rolling Stones when it was described to me, and I realized, or somebody described it to me, because none of these things, by the way, I come up on my own. Somebody always tells me to think of these things, and that's what I do. And that is because there was the big. Yes, I know. Jennifer posted the Beatles are everything. No, I agree. I'm with you. But there was always the argument: the Beatles and the Stones, Beatles, Stones.
Yeah, back in the day, yeah.
And it's really apples and oranges. The Beatles, the Stones were a blues band. Yeah. Listen to all their early stuff. They loved all of that early British blues, or going all the way back, America, the Memphis Delta blues, all of that, Mississippi Delta. That's what they loved, and they covered a lot of that stuff. Yep. The Beatles were a pop band. Look what they covered. They covered They covered Motown.
Yeah.
On their first album, they did like 2 or 3. They did a Smokey Robinson and the Miracle Song, and what is it called? Mr. Postman. That's the Shirelles, I think.
They did Mr. Postman?
Yes. Stop. Oh, yes. Wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Wait. Yeah, the Beatles covered it. Look at their first album. Okay. The first album, Please Please Me, was the British version, and then there's an American version, Meet the Beatles. And the Meet the Beatles, of course, the crass Americans loaded less of songs so they could sell more albums.
Gotta love us.
Way to go, Capitol Records. Nice job.
Yes,
and also they remixed everything in the first like 4 or 5 albums from the Beatles in the UK, which was on Parlophone Records, was in mono. Everything was mixed in mono. Get it over to the American market, and they took everything and they just went, all right, vocals over here, instruments over here. Yeah, that was it. And then put gobs of what's called reverb, reverberation. A lot of people say echo. It's not necessarily an echo. I view it as, I'd say this. If you go to the Grand Canyon and you say echo, it'll come back. Echo, echo, echo. If you go into a church and say echo, it'll go echo. That's reverb. When you have that kind of reverberation.
Apparently Ron has another pet peeve.
What?
We didn't know about. right there.
Yeah.
It's
not echo, it's
reverb
reverb.
versus echo.
Yeah, it's not echo,
Okay.
reverb. But
Right.
anyway, it's a pedal. You can have a reverb pedal on you can have it on your mic. I have it right here in my effects.
You
There
have,
it is.
yeah,
That's
I have it
reverb.
somewhere here. Spooky.
Ooh.
Spooky.
Enough of that. Enough of that. But they did that to the Beatles records, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there
Okay.
you go. But look at what what they call the DNA of these bands and what they look back to. Now, they loved Elvis. The Beatles loved Elvis, as did everybody. They loved Elvis, but they also loved Little Richard and all of those, and especially a lot of country and western, as did the Stones. They both liked Carl Perkins, and they would redo, what's the song? I don't remember. They covered a bunch of stuff from the different worlds, and they wrote songs in that style, as did the Stones. But Stones were blues band, Beatles pop band. So I never really put them together, other than the fact that they were both British. and then the Beatles.
I mean, I think it was kind of a competing for how many albums people were selling at the time and things like that. I think that was more the competition.
And number one singles, yeah.
Yeah, course. And there was a divide too between, I think, the type of fans who were into the Stones versus the type that were into the Beatles. And it's funny, it reminds me too, the whole Duran Duran documentary went through their 1980s tour, and that was kind of like the resurgence of the Beatles, that they had never seen audiences react so similarly. I can remember going to the Spectrum in Philadelphia, seeing Duran Duran play, and not hearing hardly any music because all I heard was screaming.
And
like the Beatles,
probably to this day, I would have to say, well, One Direction came close to that.
Did they?
With the fandom, but right now nobody's beating.
Yeah, nobody's
beating Taylor Swift. She is
she
is ruling.
Now, is it crazy? Now, I haven't been to a Taylor concert or anything. Is it that same kind of Beatlesque feeling, like the shouting, the screaming, same sort of thing? Do you not hear her probably
crying when she comes on stage, or when she sings your favorite song? Yeah. Especially with the younger girls who are there, and it's because she's their hero.
Right.
And I did see one great video where this mom had taken her kid to Taylor Swift, and she said, she paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars for tickets, and she had floor seats, and she was in fairly close proximity, but all she heard the whole thing was a 14-year-old screaming the entire concert into her phone. So when she shot video, all you heard was some kid, probably not hers, next to her, and that's all it was. It's a long story, baby. That's all she got. It was right there in her ear the entire show. And what are you going to do?
I've had that experience. Jim's getting a little testy here.
I've had that too, because I went to, back in the day when I was working at 004 in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
When the Backstreet Boys, we went to the Backstreet Boys, we went to the Spice Girls, we went to see the Britney.
Yeah.
All of those shows. So, yeah. And I had the daughter who was that age, Hanson. So it was, wow, bedlam. The best thing about those shows is I could go to the bathroom. La, 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 la.
Yeah, nobody bugging you.
Nobody's in the men's room. I'd go in the men's room just to kind of chill for a minute.
Yeah.
It was loud. It was loud in those shows.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Same at the Duran Duran show.
I digress.
You do.
So if there's a song that you found out the real meaning in it, I don't know if it changed it or maybe you even ruined it for you, tell us about it. Put it in the comment section on our Facebook
We'd
page.
Love to hear about it.
Because right now,
yep,
as Jim has told us.
What did he tell us?
It's time to get the gray matter working. Fire off the synapses, engage the frontal lobe, form new neural networks, utilize the cerebrum. As Pooh says, it's time to think. Ding! It's the dun-dun-dun question of the day for Pride, not Prize. Are you ready? All right, here's today's Question of the day. The theme to this 60s TV show, I'm talking to our audience. I know who you guys are. The theme to this 60s TV show had the lyrics, "Tonight, what heights will hit? On with the show. This is it." What is this television show? The theme to this 60s TV show had the lyrics, "Tonight, what heights will hit? On with the show. This is it." All right. Put your answer down in the comment section and good luck. It's rapidly becoming my favorite part of the whole question.
I know.
Oh, the music's back. Thank you for that, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I have things hooked up correctly today.
All right, here we go one more time. The theme to this 60s TV show had the lyrics, "Tonight, what heights will hit? On with the show. This is it." What is this television program? Let's go to our comments. The first one through with an answer is Napua said the Muppets. Great answer. Muppets were the 70s and 80s.
Sorry.
Great answer. Great answer. Good try.
Jennifer
says she's at a disadvantage here. Okay. You are younger than we.
Yeah.
I know who's going to come in, though. Somebody's going to come in with a pretty strong answer. Here we go. Oh, hold on. Timeout. Everybody calm down. Everybody relax. Zach is usually my ace in the hole. Zach always gets these right. Except now.
Except for this one. Sorry, Zach.
Sorry, brother. I'm sorry. No, it's not it.
You know what? I had a feeling this guy would know it.
The Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour. The Bugs Bunny Show. That's right. That's right. There you go. That's nice. Lights. This is it. We'll hit the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing apart. We know every part by heart. Overture, curtains, lights. This is it. We'll hit the heights. And what heights will hit? On with the show. This is it. Okay. Congratulations. Nice job.
Yes.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, that was good.
Pride, not prize. Carry that around with you all day.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this as a kid.
Round of applause for
watching Saturday morning cartoons as a child in the 60s, which was, that was the apex of the week. You went through school, you went to school every day, whatever, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. That's Saturday morning, and I was up before mom and dad. They slept in.
Yep.
And I was this close to the television. Okay.
Right. You open your eyes, Ronnie.
My feet. It was a television. It was the CRT, cathode ray tube. But it was in a wood. It was a nice piece of wooden furniture. It was polished on the top. I would love to. That was one of my favorite things to do, was dust the furniture, is get the dust up. The lemon smell and dust that off. I've tried to get it to a high sheen. Take the rabbit ears off the top, the antenna. Anyway, had that wood, the wood grain, and there was one little speaker over here, and your channel changer, and you had 4 channels if you count the UHF. Your public PBS, but it was ABC, NBC, and CBS.
Mm-hmm. You didn't have any UHFs?
There was no Fox. Huh? No, we had
no UHFs?
Yeah, we had a UHF.
Okay.
I don't remember what channel it was, but
you were like ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS. We also had like an independent.
Well, not in Raleigh.
Really?
No,
we had ones that would play, reruns of Gilligan's Island, by the way, and the Bugs Bunny every day. And lastly, what do you mean? Back then, we used to do it. Literally a day ago, 2 days ago, I sat in our bedroom watching the Bugs Bunny show. Like, they still run the cartoons.
MeTV runs Saturday morning cartoons now, and they run Warner Brothers. Some of them are good. Now, what I didn't know when you're a kid
Mhm.
is that a lot of them were the shorts that ran before Warner Brothers films
Right.
in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Like after the war, did they have any pre-war? I don't know. Merry Melodies and
Mhm.
all of that stuff.
Yep.
And so you had Bugs Bunny and Porky Pig and
Yosemite Sam and
right. Roadrunner
Chipper and
wasn't
Tweety.
created until later. I think he was created for television.
Okay.
I may be wrong. I usually am. It may have been in the 50s. But anyway, and it depended on who the director was on how on what the tone was. Fritz Freeling, Robert McKimson, Chuck Jones.
Guys, yeah.
Yeah. They were the classics. I'm trying
Well,
to
you know,
think
the funny thing is
Clampett, Bob Clampett. Bob Clampett was a classic director of Bugs Bunny cartoons as well. And you could tell the difference in the director, just the subtle differences in Bugs Bunny. But anyway,
yeah.
The Bugs was my hero. Saturday mornings, man, my feet were, and then they compiled them and put them on Saturday mornings at CBS,
right,
which was Channel 6 in Raleigh, I think.
Channel 10 in Philadelphia.
And so it would come on like 8:00 and a bowl of cereal.
Yep.
Bowl of cereal. Ate it in the living room. I wasn't allowed to eat in the living room, but mom and dad were sleeping. And as long as I didn't bother them to fix my own breakfast, they didn't care.
Awesome.
Just sat there with a bowl of cereal, usually Captain Crunch, and or something like that. I always had the chocolate frosted sugar bombs, whatever they were, completely unhealthy. There was nothing healthy about it. I never had corn flakes. I had frosted flakes. It all had sugar. All the sugar.
Everything did. Sure.
All the sugar.
Captain Crunch.
It used to be called Sugar Smacks, by the way, not Honey Smacks. They were Sugar Smacks. It was absolutely. There was so much. I mean, I was buzzing. I didn't even have to walk. I could just stand there and vibrate out of the room. And
fantastic.
would sit there and watch those cartoons. It was was it an hour and a half show? It was a good long show. It
seemed like forever. It was great.
It was a good long show with all the shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you got into the 70s, then you had Sigmund and the Sea Monster, HR Puffin stuff.
Oh geez.
Here
we go.
All of those Saturday morning cartoons that
I learned opera from Bugs Bunny.
Come on, man. Bugs Bunny. Well, today is National Bugs Bunny Day. That's why I brought it up. And that's why the question, because I have the book 50 Years and Only One Gray Hair I know. I thought that was great.
It's good.
I had a Bugs Bunny watch for many years, and Bugs Bunny was my hero. Bugs Bunny goes into a lot of what this guy is about. Bugs Bunny and Bill Murray. And I watched Ghostbusters, the original, the other day. And it was funny how much of it is really dated, just so dated. But at the time, it was cutting edge comedy. And it was, I loved everything about that. Well, the one that I really loved, the Bill Murray movie I really loved was Meatballs.
Caddyshack. Sorry.
Meatballs. I wasn't a Caddyshack. I wasn't a big Caddyshack fan. I wasn't, that was all Chevy Chase. That was not
friends.
I mean, obviously I'm going to remember Bill Murray's part from that. But Ghostbusters, and then of course you combine the two things that I love, which was Bill Murray and Christmas, and you got Scrooged, which was the pinnacle. There was no place to go after that. That was the height of heights. that was it. I was done.
It wasn't getting better than that.
That's why I loved Ryan Reynolds, and then I heard that Ryan Reynolds was doing a Christmas movie with Will Ferrell, and I'm like, great. And then you got Spirited, and I'm like,
yeah, it happens sometimes. Hey, speaking of TV,
I'm still trying to love it. Yes,
there's a reason why I'm wearing gold today, and the acorns in the audience will know about this.
Oh my, there's even more. Okay, hit me.
Oak Island. The final episode is tonight. I've been waiting. The final episode of the season. Let me just give you the background on this and why I'm so hyped up.
Do it. Go.
It's been like a season. By the way, I got gold here too. A season of filler episodes. Like we get this promise that they're digging underground in the beginning, and then it becomes they go trips overseas trying to find the origins of this and that. It's like, yeah, great. But in the beginning of the season, they teased it with a graphic of the two brothers, Rick and Marty Lagunas. And if you don't watch this show, this will go a little bit over your heads. But anyway, they're looking down at something, and their faces and their sunglasses are lit up in gold. Okay.
Okay.
And so finally, we're to the end of the season, and we've got the final episode coming up. We haven't seen any gold all season, and I'm thinking that this is gonna be it.
What is Oak Island? Where does it play? Where's it on? What's it on?
History Channel. And Oak Island's in Nova Scotia, Canada.
Okay.
So,
all right. Okay. Oak Island. I'll have to check it out. Gold. What do you think it is? Do you think it literally is gold?
Yeah, they think actually quite possibly the Knights Templar have buried their treasure on Oak Island, or the Ark of the Covenant.
You don't think it's Marcellus Wallace's soul? See, if you watch Pulp Fiction, then you know what I'm talking about.
There we go. It could be.
Here's the thing that, okay, we gotta go. We're already over time, but I gotta throw this out there. And I can't believe that nobody's ever written about it. And I have scoured the internet. It's got to be there somewhere.
Right.
But if you watch Pulp Fiction, the question is, what was in Marcellus Wallace's briefcase? All right. That Jules and Vincent Vega have to get back. John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. They have to get back. They get back from, check out the big brain on Brett. When John Travolta opens up the briefcase in the kitchen at Brett's place.
Right.
And he's like, and there's a gold glow that comes up. And he says, Jules says, are we good? And he's just staring at it. He's got a cigarette. Are we good? And he's like, yeah, we're good. And he closes the briefcase. Okay. Now,
yeah.
People are saying that it's Marcellus Wallace's soul. They say that it's a MacGuffin. It's just to get you from one point to another. It's a plot device.
Yeah.
And then you see there from the shot from behind Marcellus Wallace, he's got a Band-Aid on his neck, which is apparently where Satan will pull your soul out from behind you. Whatever. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But nobody has ever addressed this, and this is driving me nuts. All right.
Yeah.
When Jules and Vincent Vega shoot Brett, okay, and Jules goes through that whole thing about and I will rain down vengeance upon me, blah, 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 you know, the Lord, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then they blast him. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the point of view is from behind Brett, and you see an orange or a gold glow that comes out of the corner, and comes back. The flashes off their gun, are white.
So that wouldn't be it. Well, so you're picking up on something then.
So Brett, is dying, and his soul leaves his body.
Okay.
All right. Nobody has said a word about that.
Well, now you have.
So that's what's in the briefcase. Trust me, I've looked up all kinds of discussion groups and all that stuff. If it's there and I've missed it, this is a 30-year-old movie now. Then my internet skills, internet skills are
check that out. Check Ron's work there. But by the way, there was one other thing that I didn't get to mention is the title of the final episode of the season.
Quentin Tarantino was right. No,
it's called Worth the Wait. But wait.
How's wait spelled?
Weight. As in worth your weight in
gold. Okay.
I'm hoping.
Worth its weight in gold. Or it could be BS.
You know what? If they do that to me, I told my wife I'm out. If they don't at least find, by the way, there's another show, Skinwalker Ranch after Oakland. If you haven't seen it, that one's another one too.
What's that on?
That's on History Channel. Follows immediately following it.
All these shows on the History Channel. They're not doing history.
They may be finding a portal to another universe on Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, speaking of which, Greatest Wife Ever and I watched Outer Range.
Okay.
With Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I mean, wow. It is sci-fi Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same kind of dynamic from Yellowstone, but there's this
Space.
fantastical element that has been introduced, and it's awesome. It's really, really good. I didn't know I was going to be into it that much.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, love Outer Range. There you go. And now we have to wait for another season because we finished the season, and then we're like, and then it shows, hey, maybe you'll like this. I'm like, oh no, there are no more episodes.
I know. That's yeah. Well, I'm going to be ticked if we don't find gold tonight. You're going to see one angry Johnny.
What? All right, I'll watch your Twitter. Yeah. What is your Twitter handle, by the way,
Johnny? At Level Best.
At Level Best.
Yeah,
that's
always
John,
doing my level best.
And I'm at
or at Intercut.
I'm at Radio Ron Ross.
If you like Disney,
am I at Radio Ron or is it Ron Ross Radio? I don't know. It's one of those.
We need to hook up this show to your Twitter handle, by the way.
What's that?
We need to hook up this show to your Twitter handle so that
and my Instagram
Twitterverse can.
Is there any way we can get this
live video on Instagram? But you can do it on Twitter.
I see people go live on Instagram all the time.
I don't think you can do shows from StreamYard on Instagram though.
Oh, I see. Oh, friend of mine, by the way, got a job.
Okay.
At StreamYard.
Oh, good.
I was really excited about that because he'd been out of a job for a little while.
We'd appreciate it. All right, I'm going to hit this because we got to
go. We got to go. 6 after. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, but I am so appreciative of you guys hanging out and just chilling with us and having some fun. As always, you can find the audio version of this, and this on all of your wherever you find your podcast. By the way, I'm now on Spotify as Ronversations. So all of my interviews that I've done with,
cool.
with some local stars.
Maybe we can put that on your website at some point.
Yeah, we will. We'll pop
someday.
That
we'll get those all together.
Yeah. Ronversations is now on Spotify, and it's on. So look that up, and you can hear some of my interviews that I've done with some really cool people that have come through. I've got one coming up with the Little River Band, which is
cool.
Pretty badass. I love talking to these legendary artists. The dude from 38 Special was just ridiculous. He was so good. He told me the story, how they got the name. And I'm like, oh, man, I never knew that. It was really cool. It was really, really cool.
Well, the network's going to cut us off.
Oh, goodness. Okay. All right, listen, please take care.
Time is up.
Please take care of yourselves and each other. Please be safe.
Yes.
John Yaglansky, Ron Ross. Love you, mean it.
Bye.
Bicycle.
Bye-bye.